What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the hatred of the PlayStation 5 Pro because the entire internet is laughing at this ridiculously expensive gadget that doesn't really give you anything that new or different. It basically just bumps the actual graphics of PS5 games, both exclusive and third-party, by like 5 or 10%, but it costs $700. It doesn't have a disk drive, it doesn't have a vertical stand, but I want to talk about it today because there have been some additional details that are starting to come out with apparently it's still going to have 30 FPS games. A lot of people are saying they're going to boycott it, and I wanted to discuss this gigantic misstep because I'm not sure I've seen so many back-to-back mistakes being done by PlayStation, and it's just confusing to me. But let me break that down. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, a question I've been getting a lot in the comment section over the course of the last few days is the fact that people are saying, like, why am I ragging so much on this? I think a lot of people are happy that I'm calling out Sony just in general, but I keep seeing people say, why specifically are you just so laser focused on this? And I think it's that I want to see if we can get PlayStation to change their minds. Bullying works. They did backtrack a lot of their mistakes with freaking Helldivers 2. They have released apologies. They did do refunds for Concord. I mean, I'm just saying that companies listen when they're afraid of it affecting their pocketbooks. So everybody complaining about how useless, how expensive, how ridiculous the Pro is, I think this is actually important. But here's something I saw. Somebody said, do you think we'll see PlayStation release a statement saying, we're listening to customers and we're lowering the price? Hey, we want to do something where we are going to include a disk drive or something like that. I think they're not going to do anything like that. In fact, Tom Henderson here, this guy is the original person who first leaked the PS5 Pro like almost 2 years ago at this point, which is bonkers to think about. But he said, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think we're going to see a price drop, but at this point, they need to include something extra. Like, even if it's not a physical thing, for this price, Sony needs to include, I don't know, man, 2 years of PlayStation Plus Premium, which is like $180 right there. Give us, I don't know, a coupon voucher for some free games. Remember when Sony used to give out games? You know, that used to happen. I feel like we don't have pack-ins anymore, but you used to buy a PlayStation 4, and a lot of the PlayStation 4s came with a game like Uncharted. It came with a game like Spider-Man. That stuff, in my opinion, was important because it was something to play right out of the box, and it got you immediately involved in the ecosystem of like, oh, here's that game I bought the console for. But I've seen a lot of people saying like this kind of stuff. I've been thinking of the PS5 Pro all day. Literally, who is going to buy this? Now, this guy is a huge animation YouTuber. If big voices who could afford this thing are so confused by it, this to me is such a catastrophically bad sign. It's just how much of a train wreck the Pro already is. But I'm also seeing stuff like this. So Lance McDonald is the guy who originally made the Bloodborne 60 FPS patch. This guy hacks different consoles. He does all sorts of interesting technical stuff. He's also a live streamer. I watch him occasionally. He's very funny. But he points out this. Look, man, PlayStation is porting their biggest games to PC so you can play them at unlimited resolution at unlimited frame rates. Then a year later, they backport it to the PS5 Pro for $1,350. Is so funny. Buddy, if I gave that much of a heck about resolution, I'd just play it on PC. I do see a lot of people talking about the fact that the ridiculously exorbitant price of the Pro, if anything, is kind of a gateway drug to PC gaming. Like, one of the biggest barriers to PC gaming, and I say this as a person that is kind of new to PC gaming, it's the price because it is expensive and it's figuring out how stuff works. The biggest thing that pushed me off of PC gaming for years and years and years is not even how to build a PC and stuff like that. It's just going, okay, I don't know how to set up games. I don't know how to boot stuff up. I don't know how to do all that kind of stuff. But now PC gaming is extremely easy. It auto recognizes your controller. It automatically picks the perfect resolution. It can actually scan your hardware and make the games look as good as possible by default. And then if you want, you can go into the options and actually turn stuff up or down. PC gaming is getting easier and easier. And I think people are kind of realizing that this is the stuff that is weird, is that you could pay $700 for a console, which is still cheaper than a high-end PC. High-end PCs could be $2 or $3 grand, even at a floor price for like current gen tech parts. But so $750, you would expect to at least get, 60 FPS games. That's something that seemed to be pretty obvious. Like even at this point, 4 years ago, early 2020, I was making a lot of YouTube videos about the leaks, the statements, the official declaration to the power of the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 Pro, the base PS5 at that point. And both Sony and Microsoft were talking about games that were not only going to hit 60 FPS, but would exceed 60 FPS. Like Xbox, over and over again, claimed that some games that were like lower performance hogs, even indie stuff, may actually run at 120 FPS, and now a bunch of games don't even run at 60 FPS. So Sony straight up said, okay, so we are working on these PS5 Pro enhanced games. This is their marketing term for the fact that games that are on the system will be able to look better than even the best possible performance on a standard PS5. That makes sense. Some of these games will still run at, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm so annoyed by this. Some of these games will still run at 30 FPS. Now, a lot of people are saying, okay, that's because they're only upgrading parts of the system itself. They're upgrading the CPU or the GPU. They're doing stuff to up it, but they're not going to be able to do it for every single game. The stuff that is actually being upgraded is very hit and miss. Now, there have been some very concrete sources that Sony is afraid of making the base model PS5 seem underpowered. Apparently, with all this marketing, the reason we saw side-by-side comparisons of the PS5 games by Sony, but not the third-party stuff, that's because Sony is afraid of like, okay, we'll show you like 8K crazy footage of Hogwarts Legacy at 30 FPS, but we don't want to show this running on a base PS5 and making it look bad because this is our moneymaker. This is the stuff that makes us billions of dollars third party, so we don't want to act like, oh, you're getting the downgraded PS5 or the default PS5. I think they're trying to make it a point to say, hey, please keep buying the PS5, but the Pro enhancements just seem so tiny. In fact, some people are even thinking Spider-Man 2 looks better on the base model PS5. I mean, I think that's a bit of a, out of context screenshots. I think it does look better, but 30 FPS, even people buying it. Destiny FOMO has specifically stated she is going to be buying the Pro, and even she is like, 30 FPS. 30 FPS. You're buying a fidelity mode, essentially, right? Like, this is basically the whole point of buying a game that has good graphics or good resolution or good frame rate. Normally, you have to pick performance mode or fidelity mode. So the whole thing is like, oh, you're buying this incredibly expensive console to have both. You're getting performance and fidelity. Oh, wait, that means that sometimes you're not going to get it. Oh, my God. Sorry, you're getting scammed if you buy the PS5 Pro. This is strong words. To call it a scam, I mean, it's strong words, but I do feel like the hatred towards the PS5 Pro is coming from fans. Maybe I'm in a bubble, maybe I'm just in the PlayStation ecosystem, but I appreciate the fact that Sony believers, PS5 owners, a lot of the people that are championing Astrobot and cheering on the best Sony stuff, they are the people that seem to be screaming from the rooftops as to how much of a ripoff this is. Paul Tassi says, you know what, we found that if we focused relentlessly on 80% of the presentation about 60 FPS games, maybe we should mention the fact that a lot of these games are not 60 FPS. It's just wild to me that this 60 FPS, this term targeting 60 FPS, I think I'm getting frustrated because games do continue to look better and better and better, undeniably. These are currently the best-selling games on PlayStation, on the PlayStation Store. And what you'll notice is that it's not even that these are the newest games in the world. Some stuff here is a bit older, like, why the heck is Call of Duty World War II there? But my point is that I think graphics do matter to casual gamers more than we expect. You know, like I play games purely for the fun gameplay of it. In fact, last night I was playing some Astrobot, and then I was also playing some Vampire Survivors on PS5. But a lot of these games do have incredibly good graphics. Now, as you scroll down, you will get some indie stuff. Stray, Hell Let Loose, Ultimate Ninja Storm. A lot of these games don't have the best graphics or even remasters. Stuff like Tomb Raider. God, I love Unicorn Overlord. My point is the fact that when we think about graphics, presentation, that big initial oomph to the eyes, that does sell games. That does sell consoles. And I think Sony has become obsessed with trying to get even the tiniest bit of upgrade, even if it's so ridiculously prohibitively expensive. Like, are they just going to start putting PS5 Pro gameplay in every single trailer? I mean, probably, right? It just seems like such a weird misplay to obsessively focus on such a tiny part of a game, you know, the visuals. I'm annoyed that games are not running better. I keep seeing stuff like this. They call him 007, 0 games, 0 disk drive, $700. This has 17,000 likes. That is a bad sign for Sony. Now, I do think that PlayStation does have games. Obviously, I review a lot of PlayStation games. But this meme, this is the kind of stuff that sticks. Like, I was around for the PSP. Do you know what killed the PSP? It wasn't that the PlayStation Portable was worthless or a bad system or poorly designed. It was actually great across the board, other than battery life. But this narrative, it's got no games, that kills consoles 100%. If you just start to say, oh, don't bother buying it because it doesn't have anything to play on it, that stuff sticks, even if it is just a meme. Now, obviously, I don't think the PS5 is going to stop selling. I think the PS5 is going to continue to be a big success. My issue is that I feel like the Pro, it is beginning to highlight the fact that there is a weird divide between what Sony thinks fans want and what fans actually want. I keep seeing stuff like this as well. There's a difference between too expensive and not worth the cost. Most people complaining 100% could afford a PS5 Pro if they really wanted it, but it's literally not worth it. If they had truly worthwhile games and features, people would pay it gladly, but it's not. I've never heard of this person before, Matter Red. This is a great point. I can't believe this only has freaking a couple likes on it, but I feel like this is a good point. People will save up. I have a lot of friends that are very, very dead broke that saved up for months and months and months to find a PS5. And while they were searching, because there was those shortages, they were excited about the changes. They were looking at every game getting added to PlayStation Plus and being hyped for Miles Morales and stuff like that. The excitement was because the PS5, because of the solid state drive and stuff like that, it seemed like a better and different experience. And so they gladly played that $500, you know, $600 if you got some games or a controller and stuff like that. They gladly paid it. I love this quote because, yeah, it's not that people are giving up on PlayStation. It's that the idea of the Pro is that why is it costing so much for so little? Now, I want to end off with this because I think it brings up the most crucial point of all. The lack of competition makes an easier decision for Sony to run with a higher price. Sony is getting complacent. I've talked about this, everybody talks about this, but it is a very well-known fact that Sony has this bad habit of when they're doing good, they get lazy. When they're scared, they actually try. The PlayStation 2 is one of the biggest consoles of all time, and they killed it. It had like literally thousands of games came to the PS2, which is wild to think about because they physically printed millions and millions of discs, but The PS2 was huge. The PS3 was overpriced. It had a very bad launch, and so they panicked and ended up really grinding and making a lot of very good games like Infamous and Uncharted and all sorts of incredibly mind-blowing stuff. Exclusives like The Puppeteer. Like, I could literally rant all day about all the crazy games that came to the PS3, and it managed to claw its way back. It got a good reputation, and so they started the PlayStation 4 generation on a much better seated footing because Xbox continued to blow up. Like, the Xbox 360 sold well, and then they didn't try with the Xbox One, which put them in a horrible position. So as Sony dominated the market for all of last generation, the PS4 was just a juggernaut, undeniably. So with the PS5, now they're thinking, we're the kings. We can do whatever we want. And it makes them just not try. It makes them go, okay, what are you going to do? Buy an Xbox? What are you going to do? Buy a PC? What are you going to do? Buy a Nintendo Switch? Sony, when you say that, people start to think, yeah, maybe I should go those other avenues. If you're not releasing games, if you're not cranking out stuff I'm excited for, if you don't crank out stuff that I can play with my friends and stuff like that, maybe I will go to other platforms. This complacency, I think, is going to be a bad thing in the long run. I am afraid. I keep seeing stuff like this. If you are a diehard PlayStation fan, you must be rooting for Xbox to succeed. I mean, maybe I don't want Xbox to succeed because I feel like Xbox makes a lot of bad mistakes on their own, but a world without Xbox, I think, does frighten me. I hope that Nintendo's Switch 2 absolutely kills it. I hope the Nintendo Switch 2 is huge to actually light a fire under PlayStation's ass. Nintendo are the kings of cranking out exclusives, of constantly having back-to-back games that even if they don't look good, the developers are paid high, they're fun, they're cute, they're fun to look at. Like, Nintendo, I'm blown away by the fact that Nintendo can churn out games that even if they're not to my tastes, the fans love it. The people love it. The families love it. And it's making billions of dollars while Sony tries to figure out how to get by with the least amount of work possible. The Pro is just so dumb. But what do you guys think about it? Please give me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. This has been very off the cuff. I had two other slides. What were they? Oh yeah, buy a Steam Deck, because a Steam Deck, you could buy the best Steam Deck in the world for less cost than a PS5 Pro. That's definitely worth it. And oh yeah, over in Europe, it costs $1,000 for a Pro. It's ridiculous. Like, the exchange rate doesn't even make sense. They're literally just gouging people for no reason. My God. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.